You are now.
What's up, guys? How are you guys doing today? I hope you are well. And this is actually very new for me. I have never spoken to a camera before. Um, but we're gonna try our best. I have no notes, so this is coming straight from my brain. But basically, this podcast is going to be called Headspace in the Halls. And what it's going to be about is mental health, how to manage your mental health for students by students. So, obviously, we all know mental health is like a huge thing in, you know, college. Like, wow, it's so weird to say. I'm only 19 years old and I'm already in college. Like, that's crazy. And most people always say that you have to have it all figured out by 25, but my first piece of advice, you don't. You won't have it all figured out by 25. And the reason for that is the first 10 years of your life, you're learning the ropes of life. How does it work? Mom and dad, mom and mom, dad and dad. It really, whatever your family dynamic is. Some people grew up in a very small family where you only had one sibling and it was you. So it was two kids over like five kids or like six kids. I actually know somebody with seven kids. Wild, I know. But not trying not to make this boring, but yeah. But yeah, so that's the first 10 years of your life. And you're just kind of learning about yourself, about the people around you, like trying to make friends, trying to figure yourself out. And then at the same time, you're in like elementary for like until fifth grade. If we're talking about the US school system, I don't know how it works in other countries. Don't hate me, but I only lived in the US for my entire life. So, and I don't have that much life experience. So bear with me here. So talking about the US school system, you are in school, in elementary school from like until fifth grade, right? And then you transfer over to middle school. This is a totally different building, totally different teachers, totally different environment. So then you spend the next 5 years of your first 10 years lifespan learning about middle school. What does that look like? How do I prepare myself for high school? And then high school, while that is only 4 years, it's still like a pretty big chunk of your life. And for those like next 10 years, from like 10 to 20, you're still in the education system, most likely. Like until you're 17, you're still in the education system. Some people until they're 18. It really depends on your birthday. But yeah. And then after you get out of the education system, when you turn 18, most people go on to college. Some people go into trade school. Some people go into military, whatever you want to do, whatever floats your boat. But, now you are a freshly adult and your frontal lobe isn't even fully developed yet. And now you have to figure it out. Like, what? And then after that, you're still in college. And then now they give you 5 years to have it all figured out, like your entire life. What do you want to do for the rest of your life? How am I supposed to know? I just work here. I don't know. But that's actually the funny part, because you ask anybody who's 25 years old, they probably have no idea what they're doing still. Most likely. Because the first 20 years of your life is spent learning about the world around you. It's not actually like you're learning jobs and like careers and stuff. The first 2 years in most colleges, it really depends on what college you go to, but specifically talking about Kane, prerequisites. You're not actually really doing anything for your career. So until the last 2 years of high school, whoa, how do we get from high school to college? Sorry. Then your last 2 years of college is when you actually get into your degree. That's why most people go for their master's degree, because it's more catered to your major. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to have a conversation with a camera, so this is very interesting. But anyways, that's my first piece of advice. Now we're going to move on to me. What am I about? Let's talk about it. So, my name's Ashton. I am 19 years old. And a little bit about me, my favorite color is green. I love green. I love nature and everything to do with nature. I say a lot. Filler words. There we go again. um, so basically, a little bit about me is I was diagnosed with depression when I was 10 years old. And I was diagnosed with anxiety when I was 12 years old. I've been in therapy for the last 6 years, probably 7 by the end of this year. And it's been hard. It's been real rough. And then just recently, like about a year ago, I was diagnosed with ADHD on top of all of that, and PTSD. So, yeah, obviously I'm not going to be talking about any triggering topics, but if I were, I would put a trigger warning in the very beginning of the video, so nobody is like, I don't want to hear about that. So, but that's just a little bit about me, and, you know, basically what I'm going to be talking about is freshmen. I'm talking to you guys, maybe even the sophomores, because let me tell you, high school does not prepare you for college at all. And honestly, it's a huge culture shock. I mean, I came out of high school having no idea what I'm going to be doing in college. Like, my career path probably changed at least like 7 times in the span of high school. And that's 4 years. And changing career paths 7 times, crazy if you ask me. But basically, what I hope to do with this podcast, what I hope somebody takes away from it, is that it is okay to not be okay, and it is more than okay to ask for help. Please do. Please. If you go to Kane and you're watching this video, please visit the Wellness Center. Trust me, they do help. I have been there myself for multiple different reasons. Even if I was just having a bad day, like I went to go talk to one of the counselors there once, and it was like, he lightened up my day immediately. And if you're not comfortable with talking with a male about your personal problems, they have females there too. And they have resources to get you into therapy if that is something that you want. But I am going to say, therapy is not for everybody. And that is a fact. I have went through, in the span of 7 years, I have been through 5, 6 different therapists. And that's okay, because therapy is kind of like a relationship in a sense. You can't be with somebody that you don't trust nor get along with. So why am I going to talk to somebody about my personal problems that I don't entirely trust? And that's a huge thing. You have to be able to trust your therapist. And it is okay to first meet them and decide, I don't really trust you yet. And it takes time to build trust. That is another thing. If the person that you're with, like in a relationship with, doesn't understand that you might have trust issues and it will take you a little bit longer than the normal person to build that trust with that person, I hate to be the one to tell you, but I think it's time for you to hit the breakup station. And that's also okay, because being single is not a bad thing. I have been single for a year now. Like, I have not had any type of flings or like anything really with anybody, like nothing serious. I mean, talking stages, sure, but nothing like, oh yeah, you're my boyfriend, oh yeah, I'm your girlfriend. And that's okay. I mean, I'm perfectly happy with my life. I'm focusing on school, and I'm doing what I need to be doing for my future, because at the end of the day, people come and go all the time. Your family, you think family's forever? Family comes and go too. It's not always sunshine and rainbows out here. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place. It's part of my ADHD. I can't really like organize my thoughts. I kind of just yap and hope it makes sense. So yeah, if I don't make sense, stop me on campus and we could talk about it. But anyways, let's dive in to this topic, and I'll start off by saying my experiences when I was coming out of high school, going into college as a freshman at Kane University. Now, in high school, I was in 9th grade, and the topic of where do you want to go to college came up with my parents and I. I had no idea. I didn't even think about college. Like, because when you're in 9th grade, you're a freshman in high school, you're not really, like, thinking about what am I going to do for the rest of my life, you know? Like, you think you still have 4 years to figure it out, right? But my parents just wanted to be prepared, so that makes sense. and, you know, financially too, like mentally and financially prepared of where do I want to go. Now, my immediate thought, out of state. I don't want to stay in New Jersey for the rest of my life. And I guarantee everybody watching this is probably going to agree with me. Nobody wants to stay in New Jersey for the rest of their lives. I mean, let's be real. The most interesting thing about New Jersey is the American Dream Mall. Like, Atlantic City was the most interesting thing, but now they're making it more kid-friendly. So, what's the point of it? And yes, I did fact check that. Yeah. Let me not get political. I was about to say something political, so I'm not going to get political because I might get canceled. So we'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I did fact check that. And yeah, so the topic of where do I want to go to college came up. Rutgers is about 10 minutes away from my house driving. Heck, I could probably walk there. It'll probably take me longer to walk there, but I could probably walk there if I really wanted to. And that's where I said I wanted to go at first in 9th grade when I had no idea what I was doing with my life. Didn't even know what I was intended majoring in because I didn't know like what. Oh, my ring got caught on my fishnet. Sorry. So yeah, like I didn't know what I was good at. I was trying to find my passion. I was trying to find something that called to me, you know, like, you know the saying, when you know, that's what I was initially thinking of, like, what is my passion? What is calling to me? What is something that I can see myself doing for the rest of my life? Like, where can I envision myself? Because I'm also a writer, and I love writing short stories in my free time. Heck, I'll probably bring one of those in for, like, one of these podcasts one day. Just talk about my short story, guys. And as it relates to mental health, oh my God, I could write a short story about mental health and put it on my podcast. Yeah, look at me coming up with ideas on the spot. But anyways, let's backtrack to what I was originally talking about. So anyways, I decided that I wanted to go to Rutgers. And I had no idea what I wanted to do in Rutgers. And my parents asked me, well, what do you want to do? Like, what are you thinking about doing? And I was like, I have no idea. I'm only in 9th grade. I haven't even started 9th grade. This was like the summer before 9th grade. Like I was about to start 9th grade and my parents were already having this conversation with me. I'm like, what am I, 14? I don't know. So then they just said, okay, get through 9th grade and then we'll talk about it. Got through 9th grade. It was great. And a little backstory on me, I was in private school for 12 years. And that's how I can speak 3 languages. So 50% Venezuelan, 50% like Caribbean islander. I don't know if that's Pacific Islander. Don't quote me on that because I don't want to offend anybody, but I am from the islands of Trinidad and Tobago. My dad is from there. My mom is from Venezuela. And that's how I can speak Spanish because my mom spoke to me in Spanish from a very young age. And then my dad also spoke to me in English. So I basically learned English and Spanish at the same time. So that was pretty interesting. And then when I went to private school, it was an Islamic private school. I was raised as a Muslim. Yes, I know. Very surprising. So a little bit about that. So the language that the Quran is in, Arabic. And to be more like acquainted with it, I guess you could say, or like understand it better, is you have to be able to read and understand Arabic. You have to be able to kind of translate it because the Quran is like old, like ancient Arabic. Like when Arabic was first made a language, that's what the Arabic is. So even like the now like modern day Arabic, like you can't really directly translate that to English. Like you can't like say in Arabic, like for example, I want to say, I love reading books. I can't directly translate that from Arabic to English because some of the words is like kind of mixed up. Like for example, in Arabic, you wouldn't say like, I don't want to say it in Arabic because like, I don't know like how to like get the accent that I used to have when I was learning Arabic. So I don't want to embarrass myself here. But basically like the way that you would say it is like, I books love reading, kind of, for the most part. So like obviously if I took an Arabic sentence and I directly translated to English, it wouldn't make any sense. Like, what do you mean, I books reading what? Like, that doesn't make sense. So that's how I know 3 languages. And growing up in private school, it was different. It was a lot on my mental health. It was actually one of the reasons that I developed depression, because as a mixed kid in a school full of South Asians and one other person who was from Guyana, so he kind of related to Trinidad and Tobago, our cultures are very similar, our accents are very similar, so he was the only person that I could relate to in an entire school of thousands of kids. So yeah, it was very strange. And not only was I just mixed, I was mixed with two cultures that were not from South Asia. So people didn't really know how to relate to me, and it was hard to deal with because they used to bully me a lot because I was different. The other guy, they didn't really pick on him because he was fully Guyanese. So why are they going to pick on him? He's not mixed with anything. I'm mixed with Hispanic, and I'm not going to say that this is every South Asian, but the South Asians that were in my school, they hated South Americans. For what reason? I don't know. I just existed, and they just decided that they hated me. And growing up, I had an eating disorder. I was severely anorexic, and my relationship with food was horrible. And then when I grew up and I started going to the doctor about gaining weight, a nutritionist on how to gain weight and get back to a healthy weight, she told me about protein shakes and, this may be controversial, but weed. Yeah. And she told me that might be the thing that would help me get over my eating disorder. And guess what? It did. The munchies cured my relationship with food, and I was able to eat without feeling bad about myself or feeling like I don't want to gain weight. I was in a headspace where I was literally terrified of gaining 1 pound. If I gain 1 pound, then I'm not worth it anymore. And it was just oh, okay, let's not think like that. And I was seeing a therapist at that point too. She was trying to tell me don't worry about your relationship with food. Just eat. Food is nutrition. Food is good for you. Food tastes good. Eat the foods that you love. It does not matter if you gain a pound. It is not going to make you less pretty. It's not going to make you less gorgeous, whatever. And then I found the munchies, and that cured me. And then it got bad. Then I got diagnosed with obesity. So I went from being severely anorexic to obese. Not something you want to be a part of. But and that severely affected my depression because it made me feel like I was worthless, honestly. And I hated it. And now you look at me and you wouldn't even guess, because the truth is, and a friend told me this recently, that we all have a story. The difference is you don't know the other person's story. So, yeah. So I'm here, sitting here, being super vulnerable with a camera. And talking about my most insecure trait, being anorexic and having an eating disorder. I don't have an eating disorder anymore. I'm good. I am officially cured from all eating disorders, so yay me for that. And I also grew up with a learning disability. So that was another thing that made me different from everyone else. I'm dyslexic. Can't read, which is weird because I love reading. So, yeah. So most of the time I just listen to audiobooks, but one thing that's really helped me with my writing more than my reading, they say that dyslexics, it's easier for them to read cursive for some reason. But for me, it made it worse, honestly. Because in second grade, my teacher, my learning disability teacher, assistant actually, she gave me papers and cursive, and she was like, "Can you read this better?" I was like, "Girl, why are the letters looking like symbols? Why is it looking like Japanese? That doesn't look like words to me. So it made it worse. But when she told me to write in cursive, because I can't spell. So if I'm writing something and somebody spells it out to me, I probably will spell it wrong anyway. Because even though they're telling me how to spell it, it doesn't compute in my brain that that's the way that the word is supposed to look like. It doesn't make sense. So I don't have like severe dyslexia to the point where like the word is like upside down or the letters are backwards, like the B is like, instead of like this, it's like this. The letters are just in the wrong order for me. So that helps a little bit, but growing up being like that's the only thing that you see, it didn't really bother me too much because that's all I knew. I didn't know anything else. So it was normal. And that's another thing that the kids at school bullied me for, because I had a learning disability. I always walked around with an assistant because if I had to read anything, if I had to write anything, I needed my assistant because I didn't know how to read. And it was worse because with numbers, oh my God. It was like the numbers were in the wrong order. Like, you guys know it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. I know it as 1, 7, 8, like 10. Like, it's all over the place. And sometimes the 10 is 0, 1 instead of 1, 0. What? And oh my gosh, when I started algebra, Jesus, bro, it was horrible. But I got through it. We are here. We are in college. We are at where we are supposed to be. So, yay. Then let's do a little time jump here. 10th grade. 10th grade, my best friend told me, coming to the end of the year, I'm not coming back to private school. I'm not coming back to the school next year. What do you mean you're not coming back to the school next year? Now, my best friend was my best friend because all the kids in school bullied me except her. All the kids in school had something to say to me about my learning disability, about my mix, about my skin tone, because all of them were primarily like paler or like golden, not brown like I am. And they had something to say about it. And it was not fun. So she was the only person that was there for me and was there supporting me and was there defending me and actually helped me when my assistant actually took a step back when I met her. In 8th grade, I met her, and she took a step back because my best friend was there helping me. She was patient with me. She was like my teacher, my second teacher, essentially. And it made me feel not only included, but like I wasn't so different after all. Because it was a friend helping me rather than a teacher. And like, you know, your relationship with your friends is a lot different than your relationship with your teachers. Like, your relationship with your teachers is a lot more formal, a lot more related to school only, just specific stuff. But your relationship with your friends, it's kind of like this podcast, all over the place. You could talk to your friends about relationships today and vacations tomorrow. And that's totally fine. So that's what made me more comfortable in growing up with dyslexia and everything like that and dealing with that. And so when she told me that she wasn't coming back, I didn't want to stay without her. And I know that's a little bit codependency, and I admit it was, because I didn't want to know school without her. I knew school without her before she came to the school. But now that I know what it is with her, I don't want to know what it is without her. So when she transferred out, we both live in Edison. So when she transferred to Edison High, I assumed I was going to go to Edison High too. Little did I know, there are 2 high schools in Edison because of how big it is. So we have J.P. Stevens on one end of Edison, and we have Edison High on the other end of Edison. So she lives closer to Edison High, and I live closer to J.P. Stevens. So when I transferred out of my private school, and let me tell you, this was very difficult because my parents put me in private school because they wanted to raise me under the Islamic beliefs, and they wanted me to be a practicing Muslim. Like, they wanted me to be a hafiza. Basically what a hafiza is the Arabic term for a girl who has memorized the entire Quran from front to back. Like, you can literally read any, like, verse from it off the top of your head. That's what they wanted me to be. And I did not want to do that. But that's what they had me in private school doing. Like, I was in what they call a tafsir program. And basically, it was having us memorize, like, first the smaller verses. They call them surahs, so it's like a kind of a story, essentially. Not like in the Bible, you guys have verses and stuff, but in the Quran, we have more stories that are, like, different lengths. Like, the longest one is Surah Baqarah, which is the story of the cow. Don't ask me what that is about. I have no idea. All I know is that there's a cow in there somewhere, and the cow is pretty cool. We like the cow. I'm not trying to make fun of it. I'm just saying we love that cow. Good job, cow. Anyways, yeah, so that is the longest one. And off the top of my head, I think it's a lot of pages. I don't know exactly how much, so I'm not going to try to fact check myself on that, because I don't even have my phone in front of me, so I can't even, like, just Google it. Love Google. In my private school, we used to, like, make fun of it and be like, so basically what a sheikh is like kind of like a teacher who teaches the Quran. So we were like, we have Sheikh Google and we have, Auntie Siri, because in South Asian culture, you call every elder auntie in front of their name. So, like, for example, my name is Alia or Ashton. So they would say, or Aaliyah. I answer to all. My birth name is pronounced Alia, but everybody calls me Aaliyah that I just don't even bother correcting them. I'm just like, yeah, that's me. Like the singer. That's me. So, these camera switches, man, messing me up. But I'm getting distracted. My ADHD is acting up. I swear to God, it only happens when I start yapping. But yeah, so what was I talking about? I have no idea what I was talking about. Okay, we're just gonna go with the flow. It's fine. We'll improv. We improv out here because that is what I do. I am also in the film clubs here at Kane University. Off the top of my head, there are 2. There might be more. I don't know. If you go to Kane, please don't hate me. I'm trying my best. So I am part of the Kane Film Association, and that is basically where we record short films, we write scripts for short films, all that jazzy stuff, all the camera work stuff. We love that. Now, Kane TV is TV shows, sitcoms, documentaries, podcasts, video podcasts, which is what I'm doing right now. And that's, and that's really fun. And that's actually how I got into film. Like, I did a course in my senior year of high school, and I found out that I actually love film. But let me get back on track with that. So, when my best friend told me that she was transferring over out of the school that we were in 10th grade, I decided that I was going to transfer out and go to public school. Huge culture shock. So that was interesting. Let's just say that. And then when I had to come to college, like at Kane, it was like an even bigger culture shock because high school did not prepare me for college in the sense of there was no courses that I took in high school that were anything like what I was expecting to experience in college. So if you're a freshman right now in college, don't be afraid to ask for help, to ask your professors for explanations about anything, because let me tell you, we're all figuring it out. I'm technically a freshman because I took a gap year last year, so I'm technically a freshman this year when I'm supposed to be a sophomore. And although I was here for most of last year, but I ended up dropping out. I will talk about that in my next podcast. It's fine. Honestly, it is what it is. It happens. But circling back to the point that I made earlier, and this is how I'm going to end off, by simply saying we all have a story, so just be kind to everybody. Life's too short to be mean. Just be nice, and you don't know what someone is going through behind the scenes. Okay, I'm good.